Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Kimsey Athletic Center, here the home of the Kenna Hall of Army Sports. Proud to welcome, with great excitement, have all of you here today as we induct the 14th class into the Army Sports Hall of Fame. Such an amazing night as we kick off such an amazing weekend, and all the former cadet athletes here and the great things they have accomplished in this same room and really where they live on forever here at West Point. Before we begin, I'd like to go over the schedule for today's events here at the Kenna Hall of Army Sports. After the inductees speak, we'll unveil the plaques for the members of the class of 2017. During that time, we'll begin to transport family and guests down to Eisenhower Hall for the banquet. We ask the official party remain for the photo session. Each inductee will be sent a CD in the coming weeks with a sampling of the pictures taken from the photo session. And of course, everyone invited back here tomorrow to take pictures here in the Kenna Hall of Army Sports. We'd like to thank everyone for coming out. This time, we'd like to recognize the dignitaries with us here this afternoon. The 59th Superintendent of the United States Military Academy, Lieutenant General Robert Caslin, and his wife, Shelley. And the Director of Intercollegiate Athletics, Mr. Boo Corrigan, and his wife, Kristen. And a hearty welcome to all our distinguished visitors, their family members, here with us today. With that said, I'd like to welcome to the lectern Director of Intercollegiate Athletics, Mr. Boo Corrigan.
So I'm going to stand here because I'm Italian and I talk with my hands, so I'm not good behind the podium. But what a great thrill it is. And as I talk about it, every day I get to be the athletic director at West Point. And there's some days that are great and some days that are less than great, right? And today's one of the great days that we have. But another one of the great days that I have on an annual basis is when I get to call the Hall of Fame inductees. And this year was particularly special because I think everyone got back to me in short order, which usually they don't. They typically think I'm calling for money or something like that. But this year, everyone was really good and got back to me. And I remember talking and calling Coach, and he called me back. And you get to say, you're going to be inducted into the Army Sports Hall of Fame. And just, there's like a pregnant pause, right? Each time that you're able to make this phone call, and just how special that is for me to be able to do that, and what my role is here and the opportunity that I have. And I know Ian and Bob, your fathers are with us. Your fathers are with us today, and what a great thing that is for them to be able to share that, and y'all to be able to share that. And to the rest of our inductees, and Coach and Charlie and Bob and Jason, congratulations. And as I said earlier, remember, at some point tonight, take a step back, because there's a lot of people here that are here to celebrate you because they love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Boo. At this time, we will hear from the inductees. We start with a three-time All-American on the pitch who led Army to 3 wins over Navy during his career from the class of 1955, Francis James Scotty Adams, represented by his son, Ian Adams.
I don't know why I get to go first, but alphabetically, right? This has been overwhelming for us. My father passed away a couple months before I was born, so I never had an opportunity to know him. So we've always kind of lived in the legacy of him. It's just been almost amazing to see him being recognized for his accomplishments. We can't thank the committee enough for their selection, and congratulations to all the other candidates that are making it into the Hall of Fame. This has just been overwhelming, and it's just becoming more overwhelming. My son Brandon did a lot of work doing research on him, and I think that brought his name forward. A lot of other people did a lot of work to kind of bring his name back up. It's been 62 years since he graduated. It's been 54 years since he passed away. But he's here with us. This is amazing. We all thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. Next, coach who led Army to 4 NCAA tournament appearances, coached 28 All-Americans on the lacrosse field, was named the 1978 National Coach of the Year, also led the Army soccer team for 3 seasons. Head coach, Richard Irving Adel.
Thank you. It's a special feeling for me tonight. I look at the plaques, and it's some great individual achievements being recognized. My plaque has to do a lot with a bunch of other people. You know, they say that it takes a village to raise a child. I'm going to tell you that it takes a village to run a successful athletic program at West Point, and I had a great village. And if you bear with me just for a minute or two, I'd like to tell you a little bit about them. It started with my boss, the first civilian athletic director in the history of the military academy, Carl Ulrich. He cared about the academy, he cared about the coaches, and he cared about the cadets. As good an AD that's ever walked the earth. We moved down to my officer representatives, and for those of you that aren't familiar with the ways of the military, we've had people that helped us with life away from the playing field, in the barracks and the like, and those guys were so special. We couldn't have done without them. I think back to the late Bill Weeks and the late Jim Ramsden. They're very much alive. Don Tiller, who's here tonight and is up on the wall as a former great athlete. Those guys were just absolutely awesome and integral to our success. And then it was a group of great assistant coaches. As you heard, I did 2 varsity sports for 3 years. It's just impossible to be in 2 places at one time. And Bruce Ferguson and Steve Tanner and Dave Sufkowski and John Maldini and a host of others picked up the slack when I wasn't around and provided the same kind of leadership that the head coach was providing. I've never forgotten what they've done, what they did for us. And then, most of all, the kids have played for me. It's a tough place, you know, and these kids go through the rigors day after day. And yet, when they came up to see us at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they gave me the best 2 hours they had, you know, and I had the opportunity to coach some kids inordinately tough, disciplined, hardworking, and they did some magical things. I admired them then. I love and respect them now. And I thank them for putting me in this position that I'm in right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Next, from the class of 1969, a star on the gridiron who set Army's single-game record for rushing yards and scored 3 touchdowns against Navy in his first-classman year, Charles Joseph Jarvis, Jr.
Thank you very much. This really is a very, very special day. I'm just, sometimes the words don't come real easy, but when I see the type of athlete and the type of camaraderie we have among our athletic community, and you get such a quick taste of it when you come back to a function like this, that it's just amazing that I was blessed many times over to be able to be a part of it. I'm a graduate of the class of '69, and quite frankly, we were tremendously blessed with an influx of some tremendous athletes in the late '60s. We had many, many athletes on the lacrosse field, many, many athletes on the football field, and they all contributed for my own personal success. They helped me in my endeavors on the field. They help me on my endeavors off the field. I think it's pretty obvious to most of us that we don't get too far in life without the love and support of our family, our coaches, our family, our family, our coaches, certainly our classmates, and certainly, very, very certainly, our teammates. So far as the abilities that were generated during that period of time in the late 60s, I do believe we still have the record for the highest percentage of wins on the football field. And we also have the distinct honor of a lacrosse championship, a national lacrosse championship in spring of 1969. And again, I share strong feelings for all the people that had such an impact on my life and had such an impact on the abilities of the folks that I played alongside with. And it really was an amazing time to be an athlete at West Point. And there's just so many thank yous that I would like to take the time to express as much as possible, but obviously a time constraint. But I will say this, that there's hardly any day that goes by that I don't reflect on just how important it was to be a part of a winning organization, a winning school, a winning the winning aspect of coaching goes far and wide, and we certainly had coaches that were just way a step above anything you could imagine in any other schools. Because I did dabble in coaching for a while, and there is just no comparison to the types of quality that we had here at West Point. And then I had one other thank you, a big thank you, that I feel this is a wonderful opportunity for me to be able to say this, that I have a very, very special hero in my life, someone who was always there, someone who was always there to motivate, someone who was always there to give all the encouragement anybody could possibly want. On loan from heaven for 96 years, I had the blessing of a mother who just absolutely gave every ounce of support anybody could possibly have. And again, I was very fortunate to be able to share 70 years of her 96. So, Mom, I invite you to share the spotlight on the I think one of the things that allows somebody like myself, who was always driven to do the right thing, you still needed checks and balances. And quite frankly, there was no one on the face of this earth that was able to give more in the area of checks and balances than my mom. So to you, Mom, please I invite you to please look at this trophy, look at this plaque, and know that you are very, very much a part of it. And I thank you for it. And I thank you, West Point. All right.
Thanks, Charlie. Next, another football star who excelled on offense, defense, and special teams might be best known for his touchdown-saving tackle against Duke in 1953, which ushered in one of the most successful eras in Army football history. From the class of 1954, Robert Michael Meshach, represented by his son, Bob Meshach, Jr.
I am pleased, honored, and humbled to accept this award on behalf of my father, Bob Meshach, and to join past recipients whom my dad long admired and respected. Let me extend an enormous salute to this evening's 5 other enshrinees who made incredible contributions to Army West Point athletics. Congratulations, gentlemen. Congratulations. I would be remiss not to thank Lieutenant General Caslin, Athletic Director Corrigan, Executive Athletic Director Bob Beretta, and the selection committee for choosing my father, and to Dawn Dragalis for coordinating this memorable weekend. My sincere appreciation goes to all West Pointers who offered their support in this nomination process, and numerous members of the National Football League community. Lastly, my special thanks goes to Walter Orline, a West Point graduate and a Hall of Fame member. Walter happens to be from Union, New Jersey, and along with my dad and his brother Richard, were inaugural members of the Union High School Athletic Hall of Fame a few years ago. Coincidentally, those 3 Jersey guys from Union are now in the Army Sports Hall of Fame. Walter's spirit and determination throughout the last 3 years were pivotal in making all of this happen. Walter, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. More than a half-century has passed since this son of Ukrainian immigrants set foot on these grounds. This was a young man who was recruited to come to West Point by Vince Lombardi, and their paths would cross years later at the New York Giants. Lettering in both baseball and football, Bob Sr. started every game in his 3 varsity football seasons and was named an All-American in 1953. He's often remembered for that iconic moment in Army football history referred to as the pursuit. On a humid afternoon in October 1953, in New York's famed Polo Grounds, this Jersey guy made a heralded 73-yard come-from-behind tackle of Duke's speedy All-American, Red Smith. A moment called by some the return to glory of Army football. Colonel Blake said, in catching and collaring Smith, Meshach displayed heart and pursuit for one single play I have never seen matched. For nearly 15 years afterwards, the story and film clip of this particular play was part of the Academy's Military and Psychology and Leadership course, shown as an example of the power of motivation. My father's recollection of this eventful day, from a player's standpoint, that was the epitome of any game, team, and student body support that I've been associated with, bar none. Later on, he joined Doc Blanchard's staff in '56, and following his all-pro playing career, returned to West Point in 1966 for his 7-year stint as offensive line coach on Tom Cahill's stellar coaching staff. He really enjoyed his time coaching here and truly loved all of you that were associated with those teams. Many of us are aware that Miami of Ohio is often referred to as the cradle of coaches. People like Army's own Red Blake, Cleveland's Paul Brown, Ohio State's Woody Hayes, and Notre Dame's Ara Parseghian launched their careers there. What you might not be aware of is that West Point has its cradle too, the cradle of Hall of Famers. Right on post is a place called Bartlett Loop. You can imagine how I felt growing up in this magical neighborhood, which would become the home of so many Hall of Famers. By my count, there are now 13 Hall of Famers who lived on the Loop. 13. In fact, 2 of this year's enshrinees, my dad and Coach Adel, also resided there. That means that 10% of the Army Sports Hall of Fame hails from this distinguished neighborhood. All right? Orla Loop. How important was the academy to my father? Keep in mind, this is a man whose NFL playing and coaching career spanned 5 decades, winning 3 Super Bowl rings. Upon his death, the only 2 rings on his fingers were the wedding band to the love of his life, Doris, and this one, his 1954 class ring. Longtime team physician, distinguished graduate, and Hall of Famer John Fagan said it best about Bob. He had no equal as a football coach. And if you could see the game through his eyes, you could not help but love football. My wife Melissa and I would like to thank West Point again for the recognition of my father's achievements. He would have been profoundly honored by these festivities. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next, from the class of 1960, a lacrosse standout who is part of a pair of national championship teams and also was an All-American and the winner of the Trumbull Award given to the nation's top attackman, Robert Samuel Miser, Jr.
Hold on your hat, folks, because this is going to be quick and to the point. But I am both humbled and honored by this evening's event. My time spent at West Point was memorable to say the least, but it was greatly enhanced by playing the Army lacrosse team. Many of the bonds of friendship formed with his fellow cadets, both on the team and within the Corps, have stayed strong for over 50 years. And having the privilege of being coached by Jim Ace Adams, Coach Adams was not only my lacrosse coach, but became a mentor, truly a friend, a friendship that has lasted all these years. These memories will be with me for the rest of my life. Thank you again for this honor. Good.
And last but not least, one of Army's most decorated cross-country and track and field performers, a 3-time All-American, an IC4A cross-country champion, and heptagonal champion from the class of 1994, Jason Patrick Stewart.
Thank you very much. When I think about my life today, it is absolutely dedicated to sports because of West Point. Pretty much everything that I have in my life today really came through those 2 institutions. I think back to high school and starting out as a runner in my junior year, and it's quite probable or possible that my beautiful wife Tracy actually looked my way because of being in the newspaper and getting a little bit of support in the school, which obviously set in motion the family that I have today. I am certain that track and field helped me get into West Point. Would not be here without it. I like to think that it kept me here because I had an amazing team. I had amazing classmates who were very, very supportive. And the best thing I do today, the most fun that I have in my life today, is watching my kids play sports. Lily, Nate, there's nothing better than coming home on a Friday night and knowing that tomorrow there's a game, this afternoon there's a game. I love watching my kids play sports. I'm extremely honored to be honored tonight with this, but I'm not very good at celebrating success, so I have to talk a little bit about my teammates. When you think about all of the decades with which West Point has been around, there's one decade where all of the distance track and field records were set, and it's the decade that I participated in. I tried so hard to convince my teammates and friends, hey guys, you gotta get a tux. It's West Point, it's hard to get to. Are you sure you wanna come back for this? They all basically fought me on it, and there's about 30 people down at Ike Hall waiting for me and my family to get down there right now. But in that group, there's All-Americans, there are Army track and field record holders. So the best decade of Army track and field is sitting down in Ike Hall right now. I'm honored to be representing it here, but I hope you get a chance to meet them as well. It's been a pleasure, and thank you very much for tonight.
How about a round of applause for the Army Sports Hall of Fame class of 2017? At this time, we'd like everyone to remain seated, save for the inductees. General Caslin and Mr. Corrigan will move the inductees to the back left of the room for the plaque unveiling.